up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Dirt X Show, hosted here on the Dirt Exhibition YouTube channel. This is episode 3. I am Brendan here with Rich. Today's episode, we are diving into street legal side-by-sides. We have the Turbo S that's street legal. Also now the Ranger is street legal. So we're going to talk about how exactly we did that and why it's street legal. And then after that, we're going to dive into the 6 best Pro XP spare tire carriers, and we'll see where it takes us. So let's dive right into it. Street legal side-by-sides. If somebody was to come up to you right now and ask, how do I make my side-by-side street legal, what's the first thing to do and what's the process?
All right, so, I mean, pretty much, well, I'm pretty sure that anyone who has a side-by-side, since like the day they were first invented and you bought your first machine, the first question that everybody asks themselves is, how do I drive this thing on the road?
Of course.
Like, how can I make this thing street legal?
Yep.
And the answer really is it varies. Every state's different, you know. There are some states where it's as simple as, just registering on the road, going to the RMV, filling out the paperwork like you would any automobile and
so
getting a plate.
This isn't really for the people in, spots in New Hampshire or other spots in the country.
Arizona, I think, is one where they'll actually just let you plate it. I think Florida, you can plate it.
Yeah, so this isn't for you guys where where it's easy to get it registered.
This is for the rest of us where it's like, I don't want to use the word loophole, but it's this, again, we're in Massachusetts, put it that way.
Yep.
And our side-by-side, like Brennan said, the Turbo S is street legal. The Ranger's been street legal for a while, but we haven't really driven it on the road much. But I started looking around the internet. How do I do it in Massachusetts? There's low-speed vehicle plates. There's all kinds of different options. But none of them really fit the Razor or the Ranger. I know just north of us up in New Hampshire, they offer like a special commercial plate where depending on what the circumstances are, you're allowed to operate on certain roadways. I think it's for like farm, agricultural, things like that. But for us in Massachusetts, I stumbled across the Facebook page, and we'll put the link up in the description. It's actually Street Legal Side-by-Sides. And what it is this company helps you register your side-by-side for road use in the state of Montana as a non-resident of Montana. The machine actually gets registered as a quadricycle. It's kind of a classification of a motorcycle. Again, the definition of a motorcycle varies state to state, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I found Street Legal Side-by-Side on Facebook, and we see all these videos and pictures, guys riding through New York City, riding all over the place. And
fair to say, step 1 is become a member of that group.
Yeah, guys, everybody's on Facebook nowadays. So go to Street Legal S/S, apostrophe S. So Street Legal Side-by-Side, and they have all the information right there on the website. I believe, they have it on the Facebook page. I believe they have a website too. It's actually streetlegal.us. So www.streetlegal.us. And that should bring you to the page. So essentially, guys, what you're doing is you're registering your vehicle in the state of Montana. So the question comes down to like, how do you do that? So here in Massachusetts, there are some laws that require you to have your vehicles registered in your home state. I think that's pretty standard across the country. I think most states require you personally to register your vehicle in your home state, and I think that there's different laws where if you were to travel or if the vehicle's used a certain amount of time in a different state, there are different requirements.
Yeah. So if you personally own your vehicle, then yes,
exactly.
And that's where this comes into play.
Exactly. So what these guys do is these guys actually help you set up an LLC, a holding company in the state of Montana, and the vehicle itself does not get registered to you personally. It gets registered to that LLC. So we use Street Legal Side-by-Side. They hooked us up with LLC, TLC. We have a contact for the person we use. We'll probably put it down in the description for you guys if you're interested. But they help you open the LLC. They help you take care of the paperwork needed to get your vehicle from your personal name into your business name. That way your personal name is nowhere on the vehicle. So you register in that. You register the vehicle in that LLC, and what that does is that now absolves you, if you will, of having to have the vehicle registered in the state of which you live. So, for example, I have a Mass driver's license. My primary residence is in Massachusetts, but the machine, my Turbo S, technically does not belong to me. It belongs to my business. It belongs to that LLC, which is established and formed in the state of Montana. So, sounds kind of crazy, sounds weird, but one thing that you can kind of compare it to is like enterprise rental car or U-Haul, for example.
Exactly. Yep.
U-Haul, Enterprise rental car, they have a business that's established in a certain state for, whichever state they choose for one reason or another. But those vehicles are allowed to be operated from state to state because most states have a reciprocity law that states that they actually recognize out-of-state vehicle registrations.
Yes.
That's what allows you to travel from Mass to Florida and everywhere in between, from state to state to state, without having to have a special registration in each one of those states. So it was a super easy process. I think that the whole thing was like 21 days. I think that's how they advertise it. And I think they give you like a temporary plate, like a paper plate. And it takes a little bit longer for your actual physical license plate to come in. But technically, guys, you can do it in probably about a month. I think it took us maybe like 30 days by the time I actually had the hard plate. But while I waited for the plate to come in, one of the requirements in the state of Montana to register your vehicle as a quadricycle, I shouldn't say one of, but there's a list of requirements. You have to meet certain safety standards. Basic stuff, guys, some of which I believe is Montana law, some of which I believe is federal law. You need to have DOT tires. I think that's a federal thing. Again, to operate on a public way, you have to have DOT tires. You got to have turn signals. You got to have a horn. I believe you have to have one rear view mirror. I don't know where it has to be mounted. I don't think it really gets that specific on you. And then also a windscreen. And I believe if you don't have a windscreen, you just have to have DOT approved eye protection. So I think it's the same thing as a motorcycle,
And so that's the thing too, is that, did you get a new title?
I did.
So you're turning your side by side or your ATV or your recreational vehicle is no longer a recreational vehicle. It is now
brand new title from the state of Montana. It's titled as a quadricycle in the state of Montana. And that's just how they do it. Very similar with where Massachusetts, obviously. So a lot of guys that have dirt bikes that want to get them street legal on the road, but maybe it wasn't designed to be street legal initially, is they do something similar where they register in New Hampshire. New Hampshire then issues them a brand new title for on-road use, and then that registration from New Hampshire can now be transferred to another state. So it's, again, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces, but we saw it. I saw it on the page. I said, "Oh, screw it! Let me try it." I'm not an attorney, but flipping through all this stuff, I don't see how this would be a problem.
Which is all this stuff is set up by attorneys,
of course. And when you hire, I believe it's LLC, TLC. They, their attorney, they set the whole thing up for you. Yeah. Excuse me for 1 second.
Now let's dive into inspections, right? Because you do have to inspect this vehicle just like you would any other vehicle. Yeah,
so again, they give you a list of requirements, and essentially you just have to sign off saying that you meet all of those requirements. You don't have to go to a physical inspection station in the state of Montana. You just have to acknowledge that if you're going to be on the road, you must meet these requirements, and then if you don't, obviously, you can be punished for that. Mm-hmm. So everyone, like when I first saw it, I'm like, dude, there's no way that's allowed. Like, I live in the toughest state, Massachusetts. There's absolutely no way that flies. So I started to see more people doing it in states, some of the hotter states like New York, Pennsylvania, and a couple guys got harassed, but they were smart about it. There's a couple videos on YouTube. We actually did get pulled over eventually. We have that video posted somewhere on the channel, but I looked at all these guys. I'm like, man, these guys are getting pulled over, and they're no one's really getting ticketed for this stuff. So I'm like, all right, whatever, we'll try it. So we did. We went through the process, set the machine up, put the plate on it, got the registration, set it up, and for the first summer, we literally drove the machine almost an entire summer. I must have driven by over 200 police officers, town, state. We live on a pretty popular highway. So I don't remember whether or not I drove by a DOT police officer, but most likely I did because I see them literally every single day. And I always just I drove on my regular path, same way I would drive normally. I didn't try to avoid anybody. And selfishly, I wanted to know what would happen. If I was in the wrong, let's find out now. I don't want to drag this out and have something happen. God forbid you get in an accident and then you find out, hey, you're ineligible. So we went almost the whole summer, and it was right at the end. It was literally the last ride, and we got pulled over by an environmental police officer. So he drove by me. He was coming at me. He drove by me. I saw him throw his brakes on, knew he was turning around. He got behind me. ran the plate, and he pulled me over, and he stopped me right at the end of my street. I pulled onto the street, pulled over, produced all my paperwork, and he was obviously, like most people, he's used to seeing.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, because paperwork. What paperwork, right? So you're going to get your registration.
Yep.
And it's going to be a registration through Montana.
Yep.
It's going to be,
for
registered.
on-road use.
Yep, for on-road use through the business, and it's registered as a quadricycle. You also have insurance,
Yep.
right? Because you're going to be registered and insured. So
Yep.
just like you would run any kind of motorcycle plate, vehicle plate, any kind of plate in general, when whoever it is that stops you runs it, they're going to see all of the typical stuff, which they're probably not expecting if they're not informed on this type of thing.
Yeah.
They're not expecting to, they think it's some kid riding a side-by-side that's on the road. They're not expecting it to be registered and insured and to look, off of the first glance to look like like a car or a truck or anything like that, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure that he said to me in the video that like he didn't even really see the plate until we were stopped.
Yep.
He saw the plate. He's like, "Oh, what the hell is that?" kind of thing.
Not expecting it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Not expecting it. So he comes over. He says, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing?" He asked for license and registration. I'm pretty sure he said like, "Do you have a registration?" Like he was asking. So I stepped out of the vehicle. I had everything in the compartment. I pulled out the registration. I had a photocopy of all my paperwork, so I had my title on me. I had all that stuff. And I showed it to him, and he called it in, and while he called it in, he asked me questions like, "Oh, so how long you been riding this? Like, you can't ride this on the road." One question that came up was, "Hey, you don't have a helmet on?" Because in the state of Massachusetts, we have a helmet law. When he asked me about the helmet, I said, "Okay." I said, "You're right, I don't have a helmet on." And it's my understanding that the state of Massachusetts has a helmet law for motorcycles, but the state of Massachusetts also defines a motorcycle as anything that's 3 wheels or less. So technically this has 4 wheels. Technically it doesn't match the description of a motorcycle. That's why I don't have a helmet, If I'm wrong, if I'm supposed to be wearing a helmet, then that's not a problem whatsoever. I'll absolutely, next time I go out, I'll wear a helmet. And while we had this conversation, he called it in, and then someone came back over the radio. "Yep, hey, listen, all clear, da-da-da, so-and-so, here's the plate, it's confirmed. It is registered, is insured." And then we had a conversation. I mean, you got to watch the video because I think it was like a half hour on the side of the road. We cut a video down to like 6 minutes or so, just going through all the questions that he asked and answering them. And ultimately, it ended with me driving away, no warning, no ticket, nothing. I left, went back to the house, thought nothing of it. Okay, cool. So again, I never thought I was in the wrong whatsoever. So I wasn't expecting anything. Next day, I get a phone call from the guy that cuts my grass. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm cutting the grass out here, and there's a DOT police officer, an environmental police officer driving around your property. He came up to me and asked me if you were home. I told him no. He asked for your number, and I just want to know is it okay if I give it to him?" So I obviously knew what was going on, knew who the guy was. So I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Give him my number. Have him give me a call." So the gentleman gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, I just want to inform you that you're not allowed to operate that on the street. I'm issuing you a warning for operating a recreational vehicle on a public way and operating a recreational vehicle without a helmet." And I said, "Okay, sir." I said, "I understand." I said, "I understand why you would do that." I said, "Technically, by definition, this is not a recreational vehicle. This is an on-road vehicle. It's just registered in a different state."
Yeah, and the important thing to know is that the title states on-road use.
Yes, the new title from Montana is it's a quadricycle. It's on-road use. And at that point, he was almost I don't want to say fed up, but he wasn't interested in hearing it. He wasn't listening to anything I was saying. He said, "That's not true. That's inaccurate. It's a recreational vehicle. It's a side-by-side." And I said, "Well, it's I understand that it may have started one way, but it's no longer that. All the necessary steps have been taken in order for this to be converted into a street legal quadricycle in the state of Montana, and I have all the paperwork for it." It's no different than when you see like an E350 that's a camper. Like when you look at the plate, when you look at the registration, it's a camper. It didn't start as a camper. It started as a Ford E250 or E350. But through the process, it was converted from that vehicle into a camper, just like my vehicle was converted from a side-by-side into an on-road use quadricycle in the state of Montana. So that was it, And the other thing that came up during the stop was, he asked me about Montana. He's like, "Oh, well, where's this vehicle garaged?" And I said, "Well, it's garaged here in Massachusetts. He said, well, if that's the case, you have 30 days to transfer the registration from Montana to Massachusetts.
Which is wrong.
And that's when I just kind of said that to him. I said, well, I totally respect you, sir. I'm not trying to poke holes. I don't want to come off as being rude or I'm not trying to push back, but it's my understanding that law only applies to individuals. That law does not apply to businesses.
Exactly.
And if this vehicle is registered to Richard, I won't say my last name, if it was registered to me personally, by law, I would have to transfer that registration to the state of Massachusetts. But again, because it's registered in the business and it's not tied to me at all personally, it's not required that be plated in the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah, it was like what you said before. Like if you go to U-Haul, if you go to Enterprise or any of these rental vehicle places, U-Haul doesn't have to register every vehicle in Massachusetts. That's, every U-Haul in Massachusetts doesn't have to register every vehicle in Massachusetts. It
Correct.
doesn't, and so for that same principle applies here. Now, if you owned it, let's say you recently moved to Massachusetts, you got 30 days or whatever it is to transfer, your registrations over and whatnot, doesn't apply to this. You don't own it, right? Your business now owns it.
100%. And that's where the LLC thing comes into play. And that's where hiring a company like LLC, TLC is really beneficial.
Yeah.
You can, obviously, guys, you can set this stuff up on your own, but at the end of the day, it's short money to have that company set it up for you and structure it in a way so that you don't have to worry about it, I actually opened up my first LLC in the state of Massachusetts, and I had I was like, I'm not going to pay someone $500 to do this. I'm going to do it on my own. I did it on my own, and there was a small clerical error. I was listed as the owner of the LLC, but not a manager of the LLC. So then when I went to go open up a bank account, they said, you need to be a manager in order to do that. And I'm like, but I'm a single owner of an LLC. I'm the owner. There's nobody else in the business. And I had to have it changed. And at that point, it was such a pain in the butt to change it after the fact. I really wish that I hired a company to do it.
Just makes sense.
And even now, I'm super familiar with the process because I've been through it so many times. And I still have somebody else do it because it's not worth the headache. It's not worth the aggravation. The last thing you want to do is not cross your T or dot your I and then have any ramifications for it. So
yeah. So if you are riding, if you do go the Montana LLC route and you do get your Montana plates, like I said, you're going to be registered, you're going to be insured. You need to make sure that you're inspected and have all your DOT stuff, or your machine converted or modified to meet those standards. And then also you have to follow Montana law. So for example, like you can't go on any 55 and over or any roads over 55 miles an hour. So things like mass highways with 65 mile an hour speed limits, you can't go on. You have to go on, any roads that are 55 miles an hour or below. Pretty sure it's a 55 mark. On the Facebook groups, they really hammer that.
I never ride on roads with a posted speed limit of more than 55 miles an hour. No. For the record.
There's not many unless you're on the highway.
Yeah. So guys, that was a while ago, and I haven't been driving the machine on the road that much. It just hasn't really played out that way. The Turbo S is a loud machine. After a while, dude, driving that thing on a 100-degree day, it's like my ears are ringing. The Rockwood Fosgate Stage 5's cranking in that thing. It's a fun ride. But again, I haven't been stopped since. The gentleman told me, he said, do not operate this. If I see you, I'm giving you a ticket. And my mentality was, I didn't say this to him, but I said, okay, well, if there's an issue, if you think it's a legitimate issue, issue me a citation. I'll take that citation. I'll move it up and I'll bring it to court and we'll see where it goes. And that kind of brings us to my next point. I know you've seen it recently. We're finally getting to a point where a lot of these cases have been, other towns have issued these citations.
Yep.
People have fought them on more than one occasion, and the person that was accused was found not responsible.
Exactly.
And that's huge. And then, because now you're talking case law, right?
Exactly. So somebody was riding their side-by-side on the, or their quadricycle, on the road, and they stopped and they got cited for it. Most likely, and actually the specific papers, that's why the Facebook group is a really great resource, is because you can just search probably Massachusetts or whatever state you're in, and you can find guys that are posting either their appeals and the findings of those, and you can actually use those. So I know for us, as soon as I saw that one in Massachusetts where that guy was found not responsible, I was like, hey, print this out, keep this in the machine, because then when you go driving, you can have this that says, hey, listen, this is case law. This is, you can have this kind of as ammo, so to speak, so you have this as, yes, somebody had gotten cited, and a judge determined that they were non-responsible based on, whatever
X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, X, Y, and Z. So no, it's we've looked through every single angle, of why it shouldn't be or why it should be legal, and there's really no reason why you can consider it not legal, And if you are, it's because you're hung up on things like it is still, an off-road vehicle. But then again, you're looking at all these things: the title, the registration, the insurance, the DOT stuff, the inspection, which, we say Massachusetts because we live in Massachusetts. Massachusetts isn't going to enforce Montana's inspection laws, right? The state that you're in can only enforce the inspection laws of that state. Doesn't say that you shouldn't have it inspected. It's just one of those things where they can't use that against you.
Yeah, and that, you bring up a good point. So some people might say, oh, hey, so do I have to get my side-by-side or my quadricycle inspected in the state of Massachusetts? And the answer is no. You don't have to get inspected in the state of Massachusetts. Obviously, they're going to enforce federal laws. They're going to enforce DOT-related stuff like DOT tires, because whether or not you're registered in out of state or whatever, that is still a law in the state of Massachusetts. You still have to have a DOT tires, and I believe that the glasses or the windscreen is also a DOT requirement in every state. So even in states where I'm pretty sure you don't have to wear a helmet, you're required to have some type of eye protection on.
Yep.
And the same thing holds true for the side-by-sides in the woods in New Hampshire. That's a new thing. We've had friends that have gotten bagged for that. My buddy got like a $120 ticket because he was driving around and he had his sunglasses on top of his head. So that's it. I mean, in a nutshell, guys, that's just kind of that's our experience with it. That's what we've been doing. And ultimately, one thing that we can't emphasize or stress enough is, like, if you do this and if you are stopped, like, your attitude and your body language and your knowledge is going to determine, for the most part, how that vehicle stop's going to go.
100%.
I mean, if you're being a dickhead and you're being short or being rude with the officer, he's more likely to just issue the citation and say, yep, tow your shit. And whether or not you're found responsible or not responsible, you're still going to have a bad day. The machine's going to get towed, it's going to get impounded, all those things.
Yeah, and these are still so new that more often than not, when someone stops you, they're not going to be up to date on the law. They're going to look at it as an off-road vehicle, an ATV, recreational vehicle, and they're not going to understand what's going on there. So it is, it's your responsibility to really know the law and really know why, it is legal on the road.
Yeah.
So, and it's not hard. There's plenty of resources out there. Most people have binders where they print everything out, and they keep a binder with them in their machine to say, nope, this is legal, and here's why. And that just means that you're doing your due diligence, you're squared away, and you want that if you do get stopped.
Yeah, 100%. And the gentleman that stopped me, the environmental police officer, I mean, environmental police officers have a stigma around here, if you want to say that. They're very very particular about things, very by the book. There's almost no leniency when dealing in the state of Massachusetts with environmental police officers. Some areas you're dealing with a local police officer driving your car a little too fast. He's more inclined to issue you a warning or just say, hey, listen, you got to slow down, if you're not a repeat offender type of deal. But the environmental police are not so lenient, But this gentleman that stopped me, I mean, if you watch the video, he was extremely good. He was super polite. He was never rude to me. I was never rude to him. We had a casual conversation. We exchanged information. I think he learned some stuff. He educated me on some stuff. And ultimately, like I said, it ended with, I left at the time with no citation. He did come back and issue me that warning, which, again, it is what it is. I'm not sure what the situation was. He was probably reporting back to somebody, and I don't know if the person who he was reporting back to was 100% aware. He may not have been privy to all the information that officer and I exchanged at that time, so they felt the need to issue the warning. Obviously, the warning, you don't need to do anything for it. You don't have to appear in court. I wasn't cited. Had I been cited, then I would have had to, try, I don't want to say fight it, but I would have had to go and kind of plead my case a little bit.
Yeah, and it is... It is common for people to be, riding dirty. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
On the street, no registration,
yeah.
And that's typically what they deal with. The reality is they almost never deal with, people who are actually riding legally.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. Street legal side-by-sides. So let's branch off into the next segment of the the show here, which is going to be Pro XP spare tire carriers. The reason why I want to talk about this is because I've been looking for my machine, and when the Pro XPs first came out, there wasn't a whole lot in the market. You had the stock stuff, the OEM stuff that attaches. You had the bolt-on stuff to the existing cage. Not a whole lot of aftermarket companies putting them out, and so there weren't very many options. But now there are. And now a lot of them are also adaptable or usable for the Pro Rs and the Turbo Rs. So what you'll find is the ones that we mentioned here are a lot of times can be used for both. And
keep in mind, guys, I mean, we bought the Pro XP like when it first came out. We got that machine; it was pretty new. Same thing with the Turbo S. When we bought the Turbo S, it had just come out, and there was literally like no aftermarket companies were making anything. So we ended up with OEM stuff, OEM bumpers, and some people kind of shit on us now. They're like, "Oh, hey, dude, like Polaris, man, you think that's the best quality stuff to use?" And it's like, there's a lot of great companies out there. We deal with a lot of great companies now. We've bought a lot of different bumpers, a lot of different setups. But at the time we got the Turbo S, that was all that was really available to us. Same with the Pro XP, like you said, we did have a spare tire carrier on it, but as we got into it, started modding it some more and got the aftermarket cage, we ran into some issues. So
some of these are going to be some popular companies, and some are some not so popular companies that might be the first time you're hearing about them, but it seems to be some good quality stuff. So let's dive into the first one. The first spare tire carrier is made by ExtremePerformance1.com. So I believe the company is Extreme Performance 1, and so we'll throw this up on the screen. So the first spare tire carrier this is probably one of the most simplest designs. And Rich, I know for these, for me, I put this list together. This might be your first time, so to get your first impression might be a decent idea as well. So
yeah, I've never seen this before.
Yeah. So this one's a little different. This is, like I said, the more simpler designs, coming in at $599.95 for a price point, and this is going to be the cheapest of the 6 that we put out. Again, you can get the cheap ones that mount to your stock cage, which are a couple $100, but these are a little bit better quality. So this spare tire mount, some facts from their website. It says with the factory roll cage or an aftermarket cage, chromoly precision laser cut. It's got Mac tie downs, custom ratchet strap. So it comes with its own ratchet strap, and that's going to mount to the bar. I believe that bar is stock.
It is. Yep. Yeah. It is. Yep.
So it just mounts right there.
A lot of stuff clips into that.
And it comes with all necessary hardware and easy access to lower storage area. The one difference between this is there's nothing below it.
Well, I was going to ask that question. So when I look at this, my first thought is like, what is that tire sitting on? Is it just sitting on the sides of the bed right there?
Yeah, so that's going to be sitting on the walls of the bed.
Yeah, I feel like that might put a lot of stress on that. 'Cause, there's not a whole lot supporting it. And the other thing too is like, what's the tire size? Like that thing, that looks like a big tire. That looks like it's taking up the whole area there. Like if you had a stock tire size, what's a stock tire size on a Pro XP? 29 inches?
30.
Oh, I see. It really, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So the next picture, and I put that down as notes, but so this is, will take up to a 32-inch tire, or at least that's what's shown here, is a 32-inch tire. The one difference between this one and a lot of other ones is they don't have the like the gas struts. A lot of other ones you're going to see pop up. This has nothing. This almost has like a prop rod that you would see in like the hood of a car or something like that. So
so at first when I didn't realize that the tire was actually bolted down to that mechanism.
Yeah.
So I thought just that mechanism was going to go up and the tire was still going to be sitting in the bed.
Yeah, but it still does rest on the.
It does, but at least now it's supported. It's not like all the weight and all the loads being carried on the 2-inch lip all the way around the bed, because it's actually got 4 bolts. It's bolted to that aluminum or whatever that is up there.
So 32-inch tire. I think when you look at some of the photos, it looks like you might be able to squeeze a 33 maybe in there, but I don't know. Definitely a 32 because that's what's shown. And the one thing is I don't think this is going to work with any of the Polaris like pack and rides, that type stuff,
Yeah, like the lock and ride storage.
Lock and ride.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it.
So that's that. ExtremePerformance1.com, and this is their Extreme spare tire carrier. Let's move on to the next one. So we have here the Assault Industries. So obviously Assault Industries, a little bit of a more popular company, just recently bought out by Super ATV. So whether or not we're going to see this still around in the future, I don't know, but it's one of those things that they just came out with now. So I think this design is a little bit better, and this is obviously they call it their adventure rack. So the tire is going to sit on the adventure rack. So some of the Facts from their website: mounts directly to the frame, constructed from heavy-duty steel, UV-resistant powder coat finish, includes gas struts for easy access to storage, holds up to a 32-inch wheel and tire, and included is the 3-point Y strap to hold the tire in place and easy to install. So it comes with a strap. What you'll find is that some of the ones that are on our list don't come with a strap. This one does, so that's good. I don't know. I like the design. What
do you have a photo of this one up?
Yeah.
Because I'm curious, like how that.
So this is one. This is where it sits.
Yeah. So now you have that whole rack there, then, huh?
Yeah. So this is going to be it when it's up.
Yep. I like that. Same thing, though. I have the same questions about like the lock and ride storage and all that. Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah, so this, I don't believe it's compatible with that stuff. So you're going to have some sort of storage in that bed that's different than the OEM Polaris stuff.
Yeah.
Not bad. I don't mind this one. I like it, and obviously there are the 2 tabs in the bottom that you can open up, or that you use open ups right here in this picture. So you're going to squeeze those, unlock it, and then it comes with that as well.
Is this lockable? I don't see any spot to like lock it.
Good question. I don't think it is. I don't think it's
because it almost would be cool if it was lockable, so you could put stuff in the bed and shut that and secure it. That way, nobody can just run up and grab it out. But
yeah,
just curious.
Let's dive into the next one here, which is going to be kind of like the first one that ever came out, which was Brick City Fab. All right, so Brick City Fab, I mean, obviously reputable company. They came out right from the get-go with these right here. This is almost like a trunk and a spare tire carrier all in one. And they've been putting this out pretty much since the Pro XPs came out. And I know it's one of the first that's on the market. So this one's coming in at $649 shipped. And they advertise that on their website that it does include shipping. So straight from their website, price includes shipping, like we had just said, to all 48 states. Carriers come powder-coated, standard black. Hardware mounting brackets included, which is the gas shocks, bump stops, lockable latches, and Rotopac's mounting bracket bolt pattern for Rotopac's user side, underside use. Fits all 2-seat and 4-seat Pro XP models, compatible with stock and most aftermarket cages. And they advertise it as fitting a Tensor 33-inch or Nitto 33-inch with minor rubbing on the sides. Also important to note is that the strap is not included, so that $649 ship does not include the strap.
So what do you do? Source a strap from somebody else?
Yeah, they're using Simpson, so
just any strap.
Yeah, any kind of Y strap that would hold that tire in. So this one, I mean, like I said, this is kind of the first one that came out in the market. It's a trunk and a spare tire carrier, and this one is lockable. I don't know, I like it. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I like it. I mean, I wish it was painted. I don't know if do they all come raw? Does it say?
It says black.
Black?
Yeah, they all come black.
Yeah. I definitely like it more if it was black. I mean, I don't mind it. The only thing that I will say is that I like the lock and ride storage, and I like some of the other some of the other storage options that are made, like the cooler and everything. I just don't know if I would want to give up my bed just to carry the spare tire like that, I'd like to see something that's maybe independent, that doesn't have any, doesn't have the bracket, similar to the first one.
Yeah. And we're gonna get to that.
So I figure that's probably the most expensive one.
So not quite, but if that is something that you want, then there are going to be options for that. So
I feel like the gas shocks are a must.
Yeah. So the next one here, this is going to be the CageWorks, and this is the one that is compatible with all that, with the Polaris OEM stuff. So this one's coming in at $649.99. This is fairly new. This one just was announced from CageWorks, fully bolt-on with all brackets and hardware provided, powder-coated with ultra-fine texture black. No cutting or welding required. High quality steel and hardware used throughout. Fits up to a 35-inch tire. So that's the difference between this one as well, is that this one's going to allow for a 35-inch tire. Gas shocks provide easy lift action and keep the bed wide open. So what we'll do is we'll show a different photo on this one. This one is a little bit of a different design. And you can see right here, I think it looks beefy. This whole thing looks just, a little beefier than the other ones. It looks pretty sturdy. Same thing, gas shocks. And what you'll notice in this last picture from kind of looking from the inside out the back is that there's way more space for storage. This one is completely up over the bed. So whereas the other ones would kind of be on the bottom part of the walls of that inner wall of the bed.
Yep.
This one's, probably gives you another, 6, 7, 8 inches, something like that. of storage over that bed.
Yeah, and you can see it too. You can see the curve in the steel there, how it kind of bumps up to give you that extra room. So I like this one.
Let's dive into the next one. We're getting into a little bit more on the expensive side, but this is going to be the DRT Motorsports. New company, they're kind of getting big. They're kind of blowing up a little bit with a lot of stuff they're putting. A lot of their stuff is good quality and it's aesthetically pleasing. It kind of looks pretty cool. So here's the next one. Like I said, this is advertised as their tire carrier and / adventure rack. They also make a trunk, so it's like a complete enclosure that can go beneath this, and that is, I think that's lockable. But then they have this that can go over it, and this is available like all the other ones for Pro XP, Pro R, and a Turbo R. So straight from their website, it says it fits 2019 plus Pro XP, which I thought the Pro XP was made in 2020. I think that was the first year.
They're just saying, man. If you got a 2019, it'll fit it.
Fits up to a 33-inch tire, and with use of a 3-point tire tie down, which is just a ratchet strap. Fitment up to a 35-inch tire is possible with an aftermarket cage, depending on the actual tire dimensions, cage size, and tire placement. And then it has, on their website, has a couple notes about that. Multiple tie-down points to fit almost any cargo you can bring. So I feel like you can use this as well to strap cargo down if you want, coolers or whatever. There's just different tie-down points if that's what you want it for.
Do they have a fuel tank or something that you can put up there?
You could probably, you can mount it.
I'm sure you can mount a random one, but I'm not trying to go up in flames. So I don't know if like DRT made one. Like, you know how some of the companies make like a 1-gallon emergency fuel?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, it's got a lot of cool holes there.
Yeah.
That's like a DIYer's wet dream, dude. You can just
just
drill a bunch of holes and just bolt shit. And
yep. I mean, it's beefy looking, you know, this whole thing, the construction of it is pretty nice. This one's also compatible with, and it mentions it in their website, it is compatible with the Polaris, you know, the OEM bins and whatnot. So DRT Motorsports, and yeah, like I said, that's probably the most expensive one, or one of them, coming in at $680. So the last one here that we're going to dive into, which is by far the most expensive, almost, well, pretty much is double, is going to be MACDERMID Design. This is a new one, not really a well-known company, but their stuff is really interesting. So this is the MACDERMID Design Pro XP / Turbo R storage box. I think it might work for the Pro R as well, but it's not advertised. So obviously this is a completely different design. This is the box and the carrier. So straight from their website, sealed locking aluminum storage box and spare tire carrier built around the Polaris RZR Pro XP / Turbo R platform. Gas struts weighted to 65 pounds for the spare tire allow easy access into the weatherproof storage area, which is designed to prevent entry of any water or dust you may kick up on the trail. Dividers are included for organization of the interior, separating spare parts from daily essentials. Fully designed and manufactured in the United States. And it says the lid capacity, again, 65 pounds for a 32-inch tire, stock cage, and 33-inch tire aftermarket cage. So
looks pretty beefy.
It is pretty beefy. This comes in at $1,200 raw and $1,325 powder coated black. So this is the priciest one of all of them. But again, it's a little you know, and they make these for you know, the RZR Turbo S. They make these for the KRX. So they put out a bunch of these, and it's a little bit of a different design.
Yep.
Definitely pretty beefy.
Do you have more pictures? I'm really curious. I mean, I feel like that's a lot of dough compared to the other ones. So I'm just curious how it stacks up.
Yep. So here it is. This is what it looks like installed into a Pro XP. It looks like you have different, you know, again, using a Y strap, but it looks like you can adjust the mounting points. I don't know why you would want to adjust the mounting points like that, you know, left or right.
I would imagine you can probably buy more of those little rings, you know, like more mounting points. So if you wanted to strap something that wasn't that tire and you weren't using just the Y strap, maybe you wanted to run, you know, have 2 down there and 2 up top and run 2 straps or something, you know.
And I think it is, I mean, it is lockable. It looks like, is that a keyhole right there?
Yep. Hold on, back a little higher. There it is.
Backing up right there. That looks like a keyhole, I think, right?
Yep.
So again, a little bit of a different design, kind of interesting, and again, very expensive.
I'd be real curious to see how well that thing locks. Like, not locks, but how that seal is on that, keeping out the water, the dust, the dirt, things like that. Because obviously, if you ride side by sides, you know that like the dust always finds a way.
Oh, yeah.
Like dust always finds a way into every single nook, cranny, crevice. You know, it's a full-time job to wash your machine. Put it that way. So you know, I'm real curious how that is. But if it's good, then that would be pretty cool.
Yep. Pretty beefy design, like we had said. I mean, that's it. That's the MACDERMID design, and that's the last one we have. So that's 6 total spare tire carriers. Depending on what you need, you have 6 options right here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like them. One thing that I would hope with all these, I hope they're not friggin' noisy, man. Because one thing that drives me nuts with anything, whether it's aluminum doors, anything aluminum, it just, you know, you hear it. You know, it's rattling, it's bumping around, and it just, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I get it. It's a side-by-side. You're in the woods, but personally, I don't like anything that rattles. Like, I have a real hard time with a lot of the aluminum door manufacturers because they just don't shut right. When they're shut, they're just tinny. You hear every little thing, every rock, every shake, rattle, and jiggle. So, curious. You know, that would, if I was going to pick one for my machine, that would definitely play into it.
So, guys, that's it for the spare tire carriers and street legal side-by-sides. Any other topics we want to go over?
No, man, I think we pretty much covered it. I think it's a good length right now.
Absolutely. Tune in next time, guys. Again, Dirt X Show. If this is your first time watching, subscribe to the Dirt Exhibition YouTube channel where we talk all things New England off-road, and we'll see you on the next one.